Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day. For those of you who don't know us, I am Sylvia. I'm vegan and I'm a boss babe.
And I'm Courtney, and I am a proud mom and a content creator. And together we're
Side by side. So we're excited to have our first interview with Alyssa Thompson, and she's going to share with us her experience being a business boss. Welcome, Alyssa.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, you guys.
Yay, we're good. We're so happy to have you here. And so we have a couple of questions to ask you, Alyssa Thompson. We know that you are a business owner, so we would like to pick your brain and ask you a few questions on how you came to be a business owner. So the first thing, obviously, that I want to ask you is, what made you become a business owner, versus an employee?
So I think I want to start kind of with the distinction for myself of quote unquote running a business versus being self-employed, because they feel a little different in my mind. Self-employed means you work for yourself, you make your own hours. You're kind of not a business until you have employees. In my mind, this doesn't mean for everybody. So I'm a business now, but in the beginning, it started as being just self-employed, working for myself. And it was a pretty interesting path because I didn't choose it. I wasn't like, you know what I really want to do? I really want to work for myself. I want to take all the responsibility myself, make my own time myself. But I came out of college in 2009 during the recession, and there was no jobs. I had a bachelor's degree in history. I had a 3.87 GPA from UC Irvine, extremely prestigious, and I was applying for jobs, and the applications went something like this. Bachelor's required, master's preferred, starting pay $9.25 an hour. And I was like, oh, well, I can't even pay my student loans with that money. And I really just had to be flexible in what I was going to do. So an opportunity came to me to be able to work for myself. And after having put in countless applications in 2009, I just had the realization that just like, I can't sit around anymore and wait for somebody to give me money. Even though in my mind, the traditional way was you're going to get a job, you're going to get benefits, you're going to get a 401k, you're going to work your way up the ladder. That's what I had always envisioned for my life. When it didn't happen, I realized like you can pivot or you can starve. And it actually just ended up being a really amazing thing for me.
Nice. That's so we all know we're all taught to grow up to get a regular job and work all our lives till we're 60 or 80 or whatever age it is that we finished working. So when you did this, I know you were just freshly out of college, and obviously the road didn't go the way you wanted. How old were you when all this transpired? I mean, did you wait a while, or so you were just like, I'll wait till I'm in my 30s, or was it something that made a difference?
I was 22. So I had been out of school for a year, and in a year from 2009 to 2010, I had one job offer. I went to Wisconsin to work a desk job at an all-girls summer camp, and it was a lot of fun. But that's it. I had no other job offers, even though on paper I'm a perfect fit, work experience, everything else. So I started up my compliance business. Originally, I had 3 accounts, which was not enough to pay the bills. So I had 3 accounts, and I waited tables. And it took about 3 years till I started to really get traction. And I would say by the time I was 26, it was a self-sustaining income, but it did take work.
It did take, okay, so that's good to know. It does take work to be successful, correct? It doesn't come easy to you.
There is it's like an avalanche sometimes, or a snowball. Like it starts small, and then all of a sudden you hit this point where it just snowballs and keeps going and growing, and you go into growth that you're just like, I wasn't ready for this.
It was unexpected in a way.
It was completely unexpected. I did zero advertising. It was all word of mouth. I work in a male-dominated industry. Most of my clients still just call me the girl. Like when they say to call the girl and see what you need, because they only know there's only one girl. There's only one girl. So yeah, I was surprised, and it's still growing, and I still get calls, and I'm just like, how did you get my number?
Because you're the girl. That's why.
The girl. This past year with the pandemic, though, and this is going to sound crazy for anybody who has a business, I have no business cards because my owners are not allowed to share my information with anybody because I'm so busy and I cannot find quality help, which means I cannot take on more accounts. So they're on a freeze, and everyone's like, do you have a business card? And I'm like, I do not, because I cannot have you giving it out to people. Please and thank you. This is a
please and thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing, because then you don't have to chase the work. It's there for you.
I've never had to chase the work, and I typically go for a pay raise rather than more clients. So, and my owners are happy with that. So when I explain to them the cost of services, the cost of everything is going up around me. In order to provide the service, I need this much money. They say, okay, because I'm just like, I have to get more money here, or I have to take on more clients, which means I have less time for you. They're like, we will give you more money. That's fine. I have never had an issue with a price increase or anything else that I needed, because I provide, in my opinion, a valuable service.
Nice. It sounds like it worked out for you, the girl in the industry. So with that being said, what industry are you in that there are no women? Or barely?
I do environmental compliance for gas stations and chemical companies, which traditionally is a form of construction, which means that it's mostly men. But how I ended up there is because there is a huge paperwork side to this industry. And when you have a bunch of men who do construction, and this isn't to put them down or anything, it's just not necessarily their skills. They're mostly technicians. They're really good hands-on. They're amazing fixing your stuff. They're not great at reading through your legal jargon. I have a history degree, so I can read all the legal documents that come out. They're not great at reading the requirements. They're not great at organizing and keeping your paperwork. And I noticed how I got into it was I noticed a bunch of people getting fines for really simple, dumb things. And I was just like, well, I mean, I can keep them from getting fines. The fines are very expensive in my industry. If I save an owner one fine a year, I've paid for myself the entire year.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it doesn't make any sense not to do it. If they just do what I say, they won't get a fine. And it's cheaper than if they had gotten one fine. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm sure they're pretty happy, and they appreciate you being the one to do all that they don't want to do in their industry. My goodness.
It's part one, they don't want to. Part two, it's such a small part of their actual business. They don't have the time needed to dedicate to this. They need eyes on it from somebody else. They just don't have the time to learn about it, the time to know about it. I usually go in, I'm like, you have to do this test and this test and this test. And they're like, I don't need to understand it. What's it going to cost? Schedule it.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Well, that's kind of good for you. You know, they don't ask no questions, and they trust you. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, building a relationship of trust is definitely how I was able to stay in a male-dominated industry, because people will overlook a lot, or like what you feel for yourself or shortcomings. Maybe you're a little disorganized. Maybe you're a little late. Maybe you have little things that aren't perfect for running a business. If you're a very trustworthy person and people feel like you genuinely care about them, they will overlook those little things over, taking somebody who's maybe always on time, always there, but they also kind of feel like they can't trust them.
And I feel the same. It's like us women, we're like very detail oriented, and we have things like the way we do things, and men just want to get it done. They just want it done. They want to get it done fast. It's like in sales. It's like all they want to do is the sales. They don't mind. They don't like doing the nitty gritty stuff. That's where the women can come in and really help. But that's amazing. Who inspired you to become a business owner?
My parents. So they always worked for themselves whenever they could. And even though it was challenging throughout my life, and then especially when 2009 hit, my dad had one of his best years in 2008 and 2009 because compliance is written into the California Health and Safety Code. It doesn't stop. The pandemic hit in March. I got a letter from the state that says I will show up and I will continue to do my job. And that's the end of the story. Or you will face your usual fines and penalties for all the owners. I just really had this understanding that I would never wake up without an opportunity to earn an income. I may lose clients, I may lose accounts. My business may expand and contract with, anything that happens. That's really normal. But there's never going to be a day where I wake up and I walk in somewhere and they tell me like, I'm sorry, you don't have a job here anymore. And my income goes to zero overnight. Like that to me is scarier than the risk of working for yourself.
Got it. So it's like you got the income coming in no matter what. It's just as long as you show up and do your work, you're safe. You're safe. But when you stop, your income stops, and then that's when you're not safe, right? So yeah.
You hope you take most people, unless you have like venture capital funding and stuff to actually start a business, most people are going to start being self-employed first. Once you're there, the goal is to establish it, grow it, and then set up a network underneath you so that eventually you can step away from the work and you don't have to be daily involved. I mean, you need to oversee it, it's your business, but it's not the same grunt work that you put in the beginning. That's obviously the ultimate goal of most people who become self-employed. They want to move that way.
Right. What advice would you give the next generation of female leaders?
The world is changing. It really is. I work with a lot of foreign men who have different views of women than American men, and even they're changing. Everybody's changing. So as a female, we are still maybe overlooked, but it's not as much as it used to. We really can, if you prove yourself to be good at what you do, people will let you come to the table now. And I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but making some male friends in the industry won't hurt you either. Having people who will speak up for you at a meeting is a big deal. Having somebody who maybe would be like, we didn't get to finish hearing her, or having somebody who's willing to give you credit for your ideas, but that's work life, right?
Yeah. It's mostly a male business that you're in with, but do you feel any resistance when you're interacting with men leaders in the company?
I do not anymore. And it's a really weird position. I mean, one, because I'm 10 years older, so youth in itself will meet resistance, whether you're male or female. If you're very young, you're going to meet resistance in whatever you're doing because people don't think you know what you're doing. Now that I'm a little bit older, it's better. But I used to go to trainings and nobody would sit with me and nobody would work with me until they realized that everything we were doing was computer-based and like, get the kid. We need the kid. We don't understand easy credit. Bring the child over here.
Oh, wow.
The resistance will fade and it'll become more normalized over time. The longer you're there, the more people get used to seeing you, the less surprised people are.
That must have been so much fun for you.
It was a little scary sometimes. It was uncomfortable just sitting in a room full of men who you knew, just like you could get the feeling that they didn't want you there. And I'm just like, I don't really know what I did. I don't understand why it matters that I'm here.
Mhm.
But I said, everybody in any industry has a role to play, and you play to your strengths, you play to what you're good at, and it really shouldn't matter if you're male or female. And eventually people see that.
That's great. That's great. And then, actually, you answered my next question. My next question was, what advice would you share with young women entering a male dominant profession? You basically answered that question in this last question. So
Okay.
Sylvia, I
Would
think
be the
you're in the-
resistance. My question is, what would you tell, I'm sure you run across a lot of people that have, regular jobs and they're always thinking of maybe, hey, I wish I did my own business. I wish I had, and they really don't know the ins and outs. What could you relate to them or tell them to, kind of give them confidence that they can do it as well? Because again, they have no idea. They just know they work for a boss, but some down the road, they want to be their own boss.
Yeah, I mean, you can always build it side by side with what you're doing to limit the risk. Once it has enough traction, I mean, in the beginning, you're probably going to have to take a pay cut and a leap of faith as you make that jump over. And if you can afford to do that, that's wonderful, right? But it's also kind of nice to have it created so that when you leave your job, you don't sit at home and go, oh my God, what's step one? You have step one in place, you have your steady income in place, and you can. The second thing is, if you have work experience in California, in the United States, it may be a little shaky right now because things are a little weird in the economy, but in general, somebody will always write you a check. If you do your business and you fall on your face, you can go back to work. There is somebody who's going to want your experience, your know-how, everything else, and they're going to hire you. California, everywhere I go, has help wanted signs in the window. It may not be the job that you want. It may not be the job you stay at forever, but if you're like, I need money tomorrow, you can go get money tomorrow. Somebody will hand you cash, or not cash, but like somebody will pay you, even if it's to work as a cashier or something. There's no, like, if you take the risk and you start your business and it doesn't work out, as long as you mitigated your startup costs, you didn't leverage your house and everything else, you can just go get a job. Somebody will give you money. You don't really have to worry about that.
Yes, there's always a way to make income, even if something on your side doesn't start out well. Go work for someone else and build your business side by side until you're able to go, okay, I can leave that. But don't leave it where you think you're just creeping up. Leave it where you can actually leave it and have the money to be able to do it. Because some people will do that. They'll say, oh, things are just starting to build. Okay, it's time to leave. And then it drops back down again. It's not stable for a lot of people. So just make sure you're secure enough where you go, okay, if I don't have a couple of new jobs, I can still survive. I can still do this.
Everyone's level of risk is different. And for maybe, my dad always told me, fail while you only have one mouth to feed, right? I don't have kids. So when I'm just like, I'm going to jump earlier, right? Because I'm just like, well, that didn't work out. I'm just going to go back to work. No big deal. When you have people to provide for, a mortgage, other things that are high, obviously that risk threshold is totally different. It's going to take a lot more to make you feel secure to make the jump. And honestly, you probably should be a little bit more cautious to just throwing it to the wind because you have more to lose. So you really have to consider what position you're in your life. And that's not to say if you have kids and a mortgage and everything, you never take a risk. I'm just saying it needs to be a little bit more evaluated than somebody who's 21 living at home on their parents' sofa.
Right.
True.
Very true. Because I have a 23-year-old living here right now, but because of the pandemic, it stopped her internship, her to go to law school, her to take her LSATs, her whole life, it actually had a halt. And thank God she has a home here. she's got a job with her nannying right now, but she's doing something. But she too has been watching from Strong Woman, and I can't wait for her to watch this interview with regarding what you said, because she's starting to think about starting her own business because her sister has her own business. So she's very business minded. It's like, okay, this is great. I mean, us women, we're making a leap. We're making changes in the world, and we just do it one step at a time, one female at a time.
I love that. Yeah.
I like that. One female at a time. No offense, guys. No, just kidding.
We're also so valuable to each other, though, like one step at a time, one female at a time, but like other women have your back. And it's like really, really nice too, to have a great support system, or like people who root for you, your friends who are interested in your new business.
Mm-hmm.
I hope men are the same way. I don't know though.
I believe they're different in many ways than we are.
Maybe more competitive as opposed to like supportive. Maybe.
Yeah, that's a good topic right there. Actually,
I have had, like, throughout my experience though, really good relationships with men who have helped me in my career and stuff. So I don't ever want to come off as like man bashing or anything like that, because there are a lot of them who are an ally for you, who are going to be there for you, who are going to help you with whatever you're doing, and like take advantage of that. Sometimes you need a man to speak to another man, and I don't like that that's the case. But if it's the case, sometimes you have to work with the world that you live in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there you have any more questions?
Those are good words, definitely. Let me see. I wanted, because okay, so you have your business, you've had it for 10 years. Obviously, you're successful in your own way. You probably own a home and, do all these things. So now that, you have your business, how does it go? So as much as for like, time for yourself, for things to do, different things to do besides your business. Extracurricular activities,
I keep my extracurricular activities. I exercise, I don't know, 6 days a week. That's probably my favorite extracurricular activity. I make dinner for me and my husband. I walk my dog. There are times where the grind, you got to put aside your personal stuff and you got to get it done, because ultimately you hold all of the liability and all of the success and failure rests on your shoulders. But I also have days where it's 2:00 and I'm like, oh, I'm done. I'm going to go swimming, because like, there's nobody telling me like, I know you're out of work, but like, you don't clock out till 5. So like, you have to stay here. Yeah, it's a give and take. And the better you are at scheduling yourself, the better off you'll be with managing your free time and stuff. I'm a pretty poor scheduler. I'm not gonna lie. So I work a lot of self-inflicted late nights, but like tonight, I'm gonna get off of this call. I'm going to walk my dog, exercise, make dinner, and I'm gonna go back to work. But that's because I just took a 2-hour nap. So
the perks of having your own business. So
I made that choice. I decided I'd rather put in a few hours tonight and catch some Z's, because I didn't get good sleep last night and I got home really late, and I made that choice and I will live with that decision. That's on me. Okay.
And so that's one thing that I wanted to you to share, is that basically your schedule is yours.
Yeah. Yes. My schedule is mine.
Yes.
I don't have to ask anybody to take a day off to go to the doctors.
You don't need PTO.
I don't need PTO. I've taken a 2-week trip to Europe. I took 9 days off for my wedding. My days more go, because of the schedule that I have more like early days as opposed to like big blocks where I don't have any work. And that's something I'm working on. Before like 2019, I didn't really have enough work and accounts to have to worry about how I was going to fit it all in. So it's a relatively new problem for me that I'm still navigating. Like, how how do I balance all of my work and all of my accounts and all of the things with my life? So I'm still working through that a little bit.
Okay, well, you're young, you have lots of time. Any other questions, Courtney?
No, I can't think of anything, but I would like to say thank you so much for doing this. I really, we really appreciate it.
And Alyssa, any hurrah words for anybody out there who's wanting to, start their own business? Just, words of wisdom from the young.
Yes.
Oh my. Okay, well, I'm not that young. Number one. But I guess my business makes me feel old. I feel ancient. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I would just say no risk, no reward. And I know that's really cliche, but at the same time, if it's something that you're passionate about and that you really want to do and you can lay the groundwork, just start it. Start it. Don't flip your whole life upside down for it, right? Build it. And when it gets sustainable, decide if you're ready to make that leap of faith and go all in.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
That sounds good to me. Thank you, Alyssa, for sharing all this information with us. And, I know that somebody will resonate with it and it will help them. So thank you for taking the time out and doing this.
Good evening, you guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.